everybody. I'm Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. The aim of this podcast is to raise awareness about blindness, visual impairment, and disability in general, in a happy and light-hearted way. For those of you that don't know, I am blind. I was born with a condition called bilateral anophthalmia. Try spelling that one. It basically means that when I was born, my eyes didn't develop properly, so I wear prosthetics instead. The goal of this podcast is to remove some of the stigma and stereotypes around disabilities, whilst also having fun at the same time. Each week, I will be interviewing people from all walks of life, including some with hidden or physical disabilities like mine, and getting to know a little bit more about them and the lives they lead. This week, I am very excited to tell you that I will be talking to Keith Turner, who is a blind runner and recently took part in the Great North Run. My name is Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. Hey Keith.
Hello Evie.
How are you?
I'm absolutely fine, and how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you
Good.
so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
So, how's your day going so far?
Yeah, okay. Done a little bit of work on the computer, that sort of thing. Got some work later to do. So yeah, going okay so far. Had my cup of tea, so that always gets you started, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that's always good.
And you, how's your day begun? Good?
Yeah, it's been all right, thank you.
Good.
To begin with, can you tell me a bit about your VI condition and when you lost your sight?
Okay. Well, it's not. I was going to say it's a fairly long story, but it's not really. We have a condition, a hereditary condition and genetic condition that runs in our family called Axenfeld-Rieger. And it's a protein that doesn't form properly. It's the 50-50 whether the parents pass that on. Unfortunately, all four siblings, we all got the condition. And what it means is that your eyes internally don't form quite correctly, and then it results often as a secondary condition as glaucoma. So glaucoma is quite common over the age of 70, and even people over 40 or 35, if they have a relative with glaucoma, should get their eyes checked because it can come in quite slowly and you don't realise you've got it. But the form we had, the childhood form, is very rare. And yeah, so it slowly started to steal my sight away, as well as my two sisters and my brother, basically. And by the time, I don't know, in my teens, I remember even at school, I went to a partial sighted school anyway. I lost the sight in one eye at 6 because I fell out. I got knocked over by a bike. We were just playing and I got knocked over by a bike. And the shock of it took the sight in one eye instantly. And that's because of the glaucoma and how delicate it all was. And then the other eye lasted me till about 14. I started to really lose sight. And at school they said, well, do you think you should learn Braille? And I said, well, I'm not blind, and I didn't want to learn Braille at that age. And by 17, I had an operation, a couple of operations actually, to save the rest of the sight. I had to have a glaucoma operation. It hemorrhaged, lost the retina. They reattached it, I lost it again. And then by about 19, I had lost everything by then.
Right, okay. So did you learn Braille in the end?
I did, yeah. I love Braille. So like you, I've got my computer with my Braille on, and I love Braille. I use a lot of speech synthesis most of the time, but I really love to see words and stuff, But I'm not really fast, but I'm not really slow. I'm in between.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean about being reluctant to learn Braille. I mean, even as someone who was born blind, knowing full well that I'd have to learn Braille as a little kid, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for my mum now because, and I feel sorry for all my teachers because it was such a battle of wills to get me to sit down and learn Braille because I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be the odd one.
No. That's true, isn't it? You don't want to be different, and you just want to do everything the same as your peers, don't you? Because when I was little, I sound very old, Evie, but we used to play in the street. So we were all playing football, running around, and I was probably, my sight was pretty poor, but not, I could see. But as children, you just want to do the same things. And it's good that you're allowed to do the same thing because it's important, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you can do the same things as your friends, you always feel more included, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a different at school. You see, we were all in the same because I went to posh sighted school and I still got friends. I know friends who went there too, live locally, but we have people from different parts of the country. And so there, everything was the same. We were all in the same boat, just different levels of sight loss. No one there was completely blind. It's for partially sighted children. But, we just used to play and do sport. It was amazing. It was a lovely school. But when I left and went to college, oh, that was a shock because I didn't want to be seen as being different, like you just said. And I went to college and I was going to do computer studies and I couldn't even find the room because I couldn't see the names of the room. I didn't know what they were writing on the board. I couldn't see the board because I had held back information, I suppose. And at lunchtime, I went out and walked into posts and stuff. It was awful and I had to leave in the end.
God, yeah, that sounds really awful.
It's that transition, isn't it? It's difficult, that transit. And you, as a child, you're a bit in denial that you're any different because you don't want to be seen to be different as a teenager.
Yeah, definitely. So when did you first become interested in running?
Oh, I've always loved running. And again, at school, as I was alluding to, I just ran around all the time because I just loved it. Not competitively, just as a child, I never stopped running around. And I just used to love that feeling of running and going faster. When I was a child, obsessed with cars. I think I thought I was a car. And I was just running around as fast as I could and things like that. And I never lost that love for just running. Yeah. So that's where it comes from.
Right, okay. What do you enjoy about running?
It is, I say this many times, it's a sense of freedom and it just feels so right. You walk and then you run. And I just used to love it so much. And I love it now just as much. And we ran actually on Saturday. This is fun. Well, it's kind of funny. On Saturday, we ran the park run on Hove Prom. That's the one I normally do, Hove Prom in Brighton. So it's on the seafront. And it was chucking it down with rain before I left, and then it stopped actually, and that was lucky. So I went out. It was and the wind was getting up, and by the time I got down there, the wind was really strong. But this happens a lot. But the rain wasn't there, so we got ready. We ran. I ran with Jim actually. Jim ran with me that day, who I ran the Great North with. But it was exhilarating in the sense that the weather all around you is blowing, and that sensation of running in the wind. The sea was crashing against the beach. It was it was amazing. And then we still had coffee and tea afterwards. And there were not many people around, but it was a lovely run. And it was about 250 people that ran it. Normally it's about 500-600. But it was lovely. And you splash around in the puddles as well, Evie. And as an adult, how often do you get splashing puddles?
Yeah, I can imagine that would be really exhilarating and quite fun.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So can you explain the difference between tethered and untethered running?
I can, yes. So initially it's the great way of running is being tethered. So not being able to see at all, I need to have a connection between me and my guide normally. So the connection we just use like a lace from a shoelace and we just tie that between two sweatbands. So my guide, sorry about that, my clock's going on. So my guide will wear one wristband and I will wear the other, and the lace would be between them. So we're tied together in a sense. But the wristband gives a little bit of elasticity. So when I'm moving, I'm moving away from them because I can't keep straight for very long, then that in itself will straighten me up because I feel the tension and I think, okay, I've got to get a bit more this way. And then if I go too much towards them, I bump off of them. But eventually you find, that sounds quite awful that you'd be ricocheting, but you don't. You level up quite well after a while. But you do suddenly, depending on the ground, you might go off at a slight angle and then you have to find yourself again. And the guide would always give you prompts and stuff to, all the turns and that. So the tether allows you to really relax and enjoy the run in the sense of you can't really go too far. And probably the hardest bit is making sure you don't trip on anything, but your guide prompts you and says, oh, rough ground, keep your feet up, all different things like that. So the tether just stops me drifting off. One time I was running, I think this was last year. No, it was this year actually. And I'd done the knots up on the laces. We were making up lots of new tethers because we do some guide running training. And I was running, and in the middle of it, the knot come undone. And I did not realise, and my guide didn't, realised after a few moments and grabbed hold of the lace because it came undone. That was quite funny. But luckily I didn't trip or bump into anything.
That's really lucky.
So do your knots really tight.
Yeah. So, how do you go about finding guide runners?
Yeah, that how can I say? When I first started running, it was my friend Duncan who actually used to look after my guide dog. He's a vet and he looked after my guide. You know, when she was I used to go and see him. I always saw Duncan most of the time. And then one day he said, "Oh, Keith, do you fancy doing a London Marathon?" And I wasn't running at all at that time. I just didn't know how. I didn't think about how I could go about doing that. And that was the start of it. So we learned to do, we got a tether and everything. We spoke to what was St Dunstan's, which is called Blind Veterans UK now, and because they have ex-military or the services of people that want to keep fit, keep their fitness, so they run and they do tethering, and so we learnt the way from that, and then we just carried on with that. And at the same time, I joined a lovely running club called Arena ATAC, and I met my friend Chris Naylor, who's a very good runner, and she ran with me on the track. And then in the group, I started to, get to know lots of other people. So in a group session, I would move around different people being guided. It was good. And that was amazing. And at the same time, I joined the gym and found a treadmill and thought, oh, actually, I could run in this, because I started walking. I went with a friend and I thought, oh, what about if I hold on to that and I try running? And it all happened very close to each other back in 2002, I think that was. Yeah, about 2002.
Right, okay. So would you say it's difficult to find guide runners?
Yeah, it can be. It can be difficult. But now we've trained so many up at the park, Hove Prom, Parkrun have been very supportive, especially Hove Prom. And so we got probably around 40 or more guide runners trained up. So we can call on them. But the thing is, you've got to have a guide runner that's faster than you. So they've got to be at least, well, I don't say they've got to, but for best results, you could say, you need to have a guide runner who is a minute to 2 minutes faster than you on a 5K, because they got to do all that extra work of talking to you, of guiding you, of instructing you, of talking to other runners, because as we go past, then they need to say, oh, blind runner coming through, things like that. So, but yeah, we've got lots of guide runners now, but it depends on the pace you're doing, whether how many guide runners are available. But we need more. Do you know what, Evie? We need more blind runners and visually impaired runners, because I feel they're all missing out on this wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, but it's good that you've got lots of guide runners trained.
Yes, yes. And now I think there's a national website for guide runners, but we done a WhatsApp group for our local ones. So we just go on there, put a request on, and someone will come back and say, yeah, I'll guide you, at Hove Prom, or, mainly we would do that one, but people do run other park runs as well. So yeah, I mean, it might be a thing if someone really wants to go running, who's vision impaired, like maybe talk to their park run, talk about setting something up, and they can always get in contact with our park run, Hove Prom Park Run. They're very good, and they could get in touch with me. I'm sure we can get people running and getting some guides up, get some guides trained.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That would be
Mm.
great. So, what challenges do you encounter as a blind runner?
What challenges? Oh, at the start of a run, a busy event, it can be very difficult because there's loads of people around you. It's hard to start because you don't want to trip anyone up, and you don't want to trip yourself. You don't want to get tripped up. So that's the really tricky bit. But in some runs, like the Great North, vision impaired runners go off at the front, and at our park run, we've actually got we call it an accessible start, because the prom's quite wide. We actually go, we're separate. We start separate to the main field, they call it, the main runners, but not at the same time we leave, but we're on a separate bit of the prom, and we've got lots of space ahead of us and beside us, and then we just merge into the main event as we get further along. But it gives us a good start. So that's the trickiest bit. And then the other things would be terrain and turns. Some runs are very technical, lots of turning. The terrain changes. Off-road is very difficult. So I don't do a lot of off-road. I do one. It's called East Brighton Park Run, which is absolutely wonderful, actually. It's off-road. It's up and down, a little bit hilly, but amazing. But there, you've got rabbit holes and lots of things that you could trip over, roots and stuff. But it's quite exciting. So there's all those challenges, and it just gets more technical. Hove Prom is pretty straightforward, two laps, pretty straightforward. But although it is concrete and very rough, so there's a lot of picking your feet up.
Right, yeah. I mean, I know what you mean about off-road. Like, even if I
Mm.
Even if I go for a dog walk with my mum, if we go to like a plantation or something, I always think I'm gonna break her arm because I'm like clutching onto her. Off
Yeah,
road is like the most terrifying thing when you can't see where you're going.
it is because you don't know where the next foot could be going down a bank or something like that, or there's a hole there, or you're on the edge of the bank and you could slip down. There's a lot of that, isn't there? I remember running with my son when he ran, and we were running in our local park, and it had been raining, and we were running over in the park, but there was these great big banks, and because of my running shoes weren't off-road running shoes, I just went down this bank, and then I just slid completely and landed up on my back, and that was quite a shock.
Yeah, God, yeah, I can imagine that must be a shock. I mean, like, you know,
Mm,
I always feel so bad for my mum because she's trying to tell me of like routes that she's sort of doing multitasking because she's
yeah.
tell me stuff that I could trip over, and she's also looking to see where our dog's gone because he could be anywhere. Um,
Oh.
I always feel really bad for her.
Because they have to work so hard. That's what it's like with guide running. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have a lot of guides so they didn't feel they have to guide us every time. We could move around the group because they want to do their times as well and go for their races, try and get their PBs and everything. So that's the good thing about having lots of guides. But yeah, it's hard work. And when you're running as well, it's all heightened, it's intense because everything happens so much quicker.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
Mm.
I'm sure that taking part in the Great North Run was a really incredible experience. So can you talk me through that day and how everything went for you?
Yeah, it was an amazing day. We went up on the Saturday before, so it was on the Sunday, and we stayed at this VIP hotel. And yeah, it was amazing actually. It was quite a posh hotel as well, and I thought, oh, they're going to throw me out any moment because I don't belong in it. But it was amazing, and we met. Well, we were in a briefing to do the race the next day because the elite runners were in there. So we were sitting in this briefing with the wheelchair athletes. I'm not sure if the other visually impaired runners were there, but because we were going for a particular record, we were in this hotel. It was amazing. It was quite surreal, really. Tammy Gray Thompson was there. I didn't unfortunately get the chance to meet her. She was very busy. I'd have loved to. Met Paula Radcliffe, shook her hand, and yeah, it was amazing. And then the next day, we are actually ferried by coach. In the VIP coach, there was probably about 7 coaches, I think, and we got taken to the start. I also met another wonderful runner and a great runner, Richard Whitehead. I think he's double amputee runner. He was there. That was really great. So at the start, the organisers were really brilliant. And I met a few people, a few celebrities at the start. I had an interview for the BBC. There's so much going on at Evie, and then we started. We started with the wheelchairs, and then off we went. And it was we were into it. And the crowds are amazing. But the trouble with because they were so amazing, the crowds cheering and clapping, it made it difficult to hear the bells at times. So there were times we had this emergency stop, which was Jim would go 3, 2, 1, stop, and I'd just stop as quick as I could because I could be running into something, running towards something. That worked really well. And then he'd go, and then the crowds would go suddenly a bit quieter. And then he'd go 3, 2, 1, and then we start running again. He'd be shaking the bells. I could hear where it was, and they'd all start cheering again. But it was amazing. And most of the time, I could run. It was at the end. It was very difficult because it was very loud, and I just couldn't hear where the bells were. So if I ran, I would have probably run into Jim or a runner running past or something, or the crowds even. There was one time when we stopped, and I was orientating myself, but I didn't stop instantly because it takes a moment, and I walked into the barrier, but not hurt myself. And Jim had to just fight that temptation to grab my arm to stop me, and he had to remind himself, no, I mustn't help him, I mustn't. So that was quite tricky, but it was so amazing, Evie. It was lovely.
Oh yeah, I mean it sounds it. So I believe that you applied to the Guinness World Records for your Great North Untethered Run, but it hasn't been
Yes,
accepted. So can you tell me a bit more about this?
yes, we're a bit baffled actually because, to our understanding, this record never been attempted. It's never been set up. So to the point even that they asked us what would we like to call it, what is the challenge, and we had to explain it and everything. And it gained a new title because it's not been done before. So no one's set the record before. So I think I've heard of people free running like me, but not officially in a race in a fully measured proper half marathon. So it should have been it would be a record, a set, attempt. That's why I call it attempt to set the record. But they've come back saying now they kind of stipulate they now are saying there was a limit of 2 hours, doing it under 2 hours. So it wasn't in the main guidance. I think it may have been tucked away somewhere. Yeah, so they've got this time limit. They said now 2 hours. We're contesting it, and we're asking why and what do they base that on. They said something like they base it on a similar record, and the only similar record I could think of is a tethered run, but it's completely different. Being tethered, you always have that security. Your guide can touch you, move you around, and you can actually just go into yourself. But on this one, you can't. You can drift away because it's so amazing being tethered because you can just relax. But this, we couldn't do any of that. It's quite different. It relies on sound only because I can't see at all like you, Evie. So we're contesting it and see what they say. But at the end of the day, if we have to do under 2 hours, we believe we could do that if we can find a quieter course, so we could run the entire way. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would. If that record's never been set before,
Yeah.
then they shouldn't really compare it to a similar one.
No, because you could say it's similar, but it's not the same, is it? It's very different the way you have to approach it. And I'm not sure what they were. That's the only thing I could think could compare it with, but it's very different because you haven't got that security, and you've got to follow the bout. These are not a sound, which is completely different. It's liberating. It's an amazing feeling, but you cannot stop concentrating, and you can't. There's nothing other than that to guide you than the sound.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's completely different, but hopefully you will be able to get that record at some point.
Yes, and I think I really want to do it again anyway because I think I can run it faster than 2:08. So I want to attempt that, but it will depend on a quieter course really, so that I can hear the bells the whole way. Then we won't have to do any walking, which would be great.
Yeah, that definitely would be good. So, what do you think the benefits are for disabled people being able to access and take part in sports?
Endless, endless. It's so good for your health, especially for your health, and just the general. It could be physical. It doesn't just help your general fitness, but it helps your mental sort of health as well, because you just feel so good with it. It's an amazing feeling. Whatever sport it is, you feel you're part of if you're doing team sport, you're part of a team. That gives you it's a social thing. That's a big part of what I do. Meeting my friends that love to run too. We chat about it. One of the big things about the home park run we do is afterwards we get together around a table and have a good old chat. And there'll be some people that didn't do so well this week, some people that did better than last week. And it's all lovely like that. We just talk about how it went and sort of sometimes the technical side of it. But it's great. I just think it's wonderful. And it gives me an excuse to eat a lot of food as well, because I don't put any on weight on that show. I'm quite lucky. But with the running, I can use all that energy up. It's no good having all this energy. When you're sitting down a lot and stuff, and you have all this energy and you need to go out and get rid of it and burn it away. It's like having a tank of fuel in the car, but you never drive that car. So it just sits there. And that's how I think of it as well. And so the benefits are endless. You meet so many new friends. The amount of friends I've met through running is amazing. And there's such amazing friends. And the positives are endless.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I've never been able to take part in team sports,
Yeah.
in school and stuff like that. I remember specifically in primary school, I would always have to do something different if like my class were playing like netball or anything, because it would be tricky for me to take part in team sports.
Yes.
So I've never had that experience, but I can imagine that it would be a really good way to meet lots of friends.
Absolutely. And that's our concern. I have a concern of disabled children go to mainstream school. I think that's a wonderful thing. But I do worry whether they get the chance to do the sport, because in a special school, like the school I went to for partially sighted children, there was all the adaptions there, all the understanding about what sight loss means and how to set up a team sport or how to set up a course for running or orienteering and stuff like that. And we had great PE lessons and games lessons. Now, if you're, say, 2 or 3 vision impaired children, maybe one of them totally blind in a mainstream school, I just hope they've got the resources and the time to be able to allow those children to move around and to take part in physical activities and enjoy that that, because it's so important and it sets you up for life as well. And that's my concern, actually, that doesn't happen, or I don't really know. But my fear is because schools are very resource poor, time constrained, that it might be that visually impaired children, disabled people in general, with physical disabilities, might not get as much PE, physical education as the rest of the children in that school.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, because I go to a mainstream high school, and I am supported by the Vision Support Service over here, who are amazing.
Wonderful.
But PE has always been a bit of a tricky one, I think, ever since primary school.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, if it's something you would like to do, Evie, we have British Blind Sports. I've been talking to them a lot. They've been very supportive over going for the record. We have sound tennis. There's a lot more sports, and it's just getting your foot in, finding out where they are locally and becoming part of that, because it is so amazing. We did a taster day with British Blind Sport just outside of Brighton. They came to it's a little place called Southwick, and we did a day there. And that was really good. We have younger children coming along, and then adults there. We all tried different sports. We tried judo, we tried goalball, tennis, sound tennis, running, and this game called Showdown, which is a bit like air hockey, in the arcades with that thing that flies along. And it was great. And it's always difficult because we're a minority, and when you have a sport, you might have to travel quite a way to do that sport because they might centralise it somewhere. And and it's the one thing we don't do is drive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of makes it a bit harder. I mean, especially for me, I live on the Isle of Man, and we're a very small island, so we don't have as much access to things as people in the UK might, and we also have to travel very far, like usually to the UK for opportunities like that. And I know how to swim. I do swimming. And I love horse riding. So
amazing.
Yeah, I am able to do that, which is really good.
That's brilliant. And you enjoy swimming, do you? Do you enjoy the swimming?
I do. Yeah, I didn't when I was younger, because I was really, I guess I was just anxious. I was only like 3 feet tall. I was in a big pool. But I enjoy it now that I know how to. I think it was just getting me to learn that again was a bit of a battle of wills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's quite an frightening environment, isn't it, water? And I didn't learn to swim properly until I was in my 40s because I wanted to do triathlon. And I'm still scared of swimming. But I think, that's amazing. And your horse ride, now that's something I did try, and I thought, no, this is not for me. What if this horse just decides to run off into the sunset?
It's weird because 5-year-old Evie in the swimming pool was like, no, not today, not ever, actually. But you could put a 5-year-old Evie on a horse, and I was just like, yeah, this is normal.
Amazing. Isn't it funny how we do just have those likes or dislikes about, or something just gels with us that we think, yeah, this is what I really love. This is what I love.
Yeah, it's so weird because we all have such different things that we just sort of connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. And do you ride regularly?
I do. I ride with Riding for the Disabled over here. And I ride every week, and I love it.
Oh, great thing, Evie. So that's what I love. It's finding that thing that just really, I don't know what we could say, really, that you really love to do. And that's so important in life that you do and get the chance to do that. And luckily we live at a time where disabled people are we're included. They do think about us now in different places and think, years ago it'd be like, oh yeah, you can't do that, you can't, or how are you going to do that? And all it needs often is a little bit of adaptation, and it's still like you think of the Paralympics, it's just all those people pushing themselves to their great, as hard as they can. All that's happened is they've changed a little bit, like, wheelchair users get to use wheelchairs, blind runners get guides, and it's all that is, and they're pushing themselves to the extreme, just like the mainstream runners, the elites there. And that's what people want to be able to do, push themselves to the limit or just enjoy themselves. So inclusion, we are getting there. We're so much better than we used to be, and attitude is everything. It's finding those people that want to include you. And you will get some people that just can't be bothered. Don't let them put you off. That's what I always say. Find the positive people. Find those people that love to do it, like all my guide runners. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about sort of like a never say never attitude, and just,
Mm.
I guess, people thinking about the way that they can adapt things so that everyone can take part.
Absolutely. And I mean, whatever sport it is, there's rules, aren't there? There's rules, and all it means is for sports for disabled people or people with, it could be people with learning difficulties, people, we're all people. And all you need to do is make just the rules will be slightly different. That's all. And that doesn't make it not a sport, does it? It makes it a sport. Whereas, football could have completely different rules than it does now. It just evolves. And that's what you do. You evolve a sport around what is needed, really, but you're still pushing yourself and you're still doing your very best within that sport because you love it, and it's just having that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you have any future aspirations running wise?
Running wise, yeah, just to keep going, basically, not to fall apart, because I've got a few more injuries now, and that's quite normal. Because I'm 55 now. I wish I wasn't. So I've got a little bit of damage to my hips and stuff, but it's normal. That's going to happen. That happens in real life. Yeah, real life. That happens in life, even if you don't do sport. So it's just keeping running now. So I'll probably never do a marathon again. I'd like to have. I've done a half Ironman, which is a triathlon years ago, the Vitruvian, which was amazing. And I was thinking I wanted to do a full Ironman, but I don't think my body would do it now. Well, I'll probably Ironman is a massive thing though. I could probably do a marathon. That's part of an Ironman, but I don't know if it would just push me over the edge. I run with more discomfort now with my hips and that, and I just want to run. So 5K is brilliant. I can do that every week and stuff. Half marathons probably will be my limit now, but yeah, my goal now would be to get a faster time on an untethered run, because I just love doing that, and it's amazing. It is wonderful.
Yeah, and I very much hope that you'll be able to do that. So, I believe that you have some questions you wanted to ask me.
I do, Evie, and I meant to get those. I meant to put those in between mine, but
That's okay.
yes, is that okay? I got that wrong, didn't I? I got carried away.
Honestly, don't worry about it. That's completely fine.
Okay, so my first question, Evie, I don't think you've ever seen, have you?
No, so I was born with bilateral anophthalmia, which basically means that I have the eye socket, but when it came to developing the eye and the optic nerve, my body just went, no, not going to do that. So, yeah, I have prosthetic eyes, so I literally cannot see anything.
Okay, and so you never see that's I've got the benefit that I have seen. So I have a good imagination for lots of things. I know what certain things look like. I've never seen clearly, but so I have that. But what I'm just intrigued, and I would love to ask you this question. Not ever been able to see, what do colours mean to you, like green, red, and blue? What does that mean to you when someone says, oh look, well, that's green over there, that's really green, or that's blue, or I'm wearing a blue top or a red top? What does that mean?
So, my meaning of colours is that I associate colours with different feelings or different times of year or different settings. So, let's take red, for example. I tend to associate that with, like, I have no idea why, but quite like a fiery colour. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why, just sort of like fire. And then blue, I sort of associate with like the sea or the sky. So like a setting like if I thought of blue, I'd think of like a setting like a beach where obviously you would
Yeah.
the sea would be there. And green, I either associate with like a field, like green grass, or sometimes Christmas because I know a lot of like Christmas decorations are green.
That's amazing. Yes. And I was wondering about that sort of thing. So it's a feeling? Can it be a sensation as well? I reckon that's probably people have said, oh, that sea looks blue today. And therefore that's associated with that word. But to you, you don't know what the color is at all. You just don't. It's the feel. That's amazing. Yeah. So say like the grass, you know it's green. So would you therefore associate a texture? When you feel the grass, does that feeling also include the texture?
Yeah, I would say sometimes it does. If I think deeply enough into it, then yeah, I would
Yeah.
associate the texture with it. If it's just like I'm seeing a color in a sort of passing conversation, I wouldn't. But if I thought deeply enough into it, yes, because I do have a favorite color. My favorite color is pink, and I associate pink with like flowers and like summer.
Yeah. And then when you get that, they say that color, you're taken to those situations in your mind of, flowers and things like that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, isn't it? I'm going to follow this on with very similar then. So my second question, what are your favourite sounds, textures, smells and tastes?
So my favourite sound is the sound of my cat when she purrs, because I find that really, really relaxing, and I love to just stroke her and listen to her purr. And then she usually turns around and bites me, but
Yes.
quite laugh. Textures, anything soft or fluffy. I love animals. If I'm wearing a fluffy jumper or I've got a fluffy blanket on my bed, I am the happiest girl in the world. Taste, just food, literally just good food. I'm not a fussy eater whatsoever, so just food. And smell, I love perfume. I literally can't leave the house without putting on perfume. And my favorite sort of type of perfume is like really sweet scents, so stuff like that.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, it's so lovely. Because I love, the thing is, we're very similar in that, because they're the sort of things I love. The sound, one of my favourite sounds is children playing and laughing. I just love that sound. And then the sea, the sound of the sea is a beautiful sound. But like you, see, then I get the pictures though, then Evie, in my mind, because I've seen, and I think that's the difference. Yours is purely the feeling and that kind of thing. And I get pictures, and often they're like, I walk into a room and I get some cues and I think, oh, this from, and I get colours in my mind, but my brain just makes things up, and often it can be the wrong colours for my bag and things like that. And I don't know why. I don't know. I think that's to do with textures from when everything stems from your childhood, I think, or the way you associate with things. Do you think that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you're completely right.
I love it. I love it. What's my next question? Right, okay. Now, this is a tricky one. I've heard people talking about this one, disabled people and stuff. If you could get 2020, someone could offer you 2020 vision, actually give you that tomorrow, would you jump at it?
No, I don't think I would.
No.
Well, I have mixed feelings about it,
Same
because
as me.
yeah, because if I got 2020 vision tomorrow, I would have to relearn everything. I'd have to learn how to read print. I'd have to learn how to write in print. I would literally have to learn everything again. But then on the other side of the spectrum, I have never seen my family. I've never seen my friends. I've never seen my animals. And I would love to be able to see them again. So there is that, but you say you have mixed feelings about it as well.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. It's so difficult. Do you know what? I'd love to see the world. I'd love to see that, like the David Attenborough films. They were talking about that on the radio this morning. All that beauty, all that magnificent beauty that they can see and they talk about high definition, ultra high definition. And you think, oh, I wonder what that really looks like. And yes, and I've got all my family, my friends. But the bit that scares me a little bit. I'd definitely love to see. I definitely would love to see. And I don't know, I may say yes, I may say no. But we would see people differently. I don't know if I need to see people, because just our basic brain judge people by their looks a lot, instantly, before they even open their mouths. And I don't know if I want to have that, because it might change me for a little. I'm sure I could override it, but I don't want that bit to change, because I think in some way we're liberated by the fact we don't look at people in that way. We can still judge people, but I think because we're relying on not seeing, because they say seeing is 80% of what you take in. So that 80% of what you see goes in your brain, and the rest is really a small part of that. And I don't know if I want to go around seeing people that I've never seen and say I didn't know them, and that's what I was going to say. If I got my sight back, I'd say to all my friends, don't say anything to me when you see me, and I'll try and work out who you are by looking at you. But I don't know if I want to. It might spoil everything. And like you say, you've got to learn all different things again. I'd love to. I've got mixed feelings. I'd love to, in a way. Maybe I would see just landscapes and stuff, but not people. I don't really want to see people, because I know what people are like. The thing I missed when my son was little was not being able to see him do sports, because that's a distance thing. You're not, because I couldn't really experience that completely. And my granddaughters, Molly and Lila, they love dance, and I'd love to be able to see them dance. But it doesn't get me down, because I'm over that. and that's the things I would want to see, I suppose. But I don't need to see people.
Yes, I'm the same as you. I really like the fact that I literally can't like judge a book by its cover. I
Yeah,
can't judge people off their looks. I have to get to know them and then form an opinion that way. And I really like that.
I do. I think it's a bit liberal. And the world's so visual, Evie, I understand that. That's why they can sell us so much stuff, because we all go on looking at stuff and, oh, yeah, that's nice. I think I love one of those. And, there's beauty in all different ways, aren't there? And I think in a way, not being sighted, you can find different sorts of beauty.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Oh, well, we've done that one. Do you like taking part in sports?
So, yes, obviously swimming, horse riding. Yes.
Would you like to run, though? Would you like to try it?
Yeah, I think I would. I've never tried it before, not properly. But yes, I think I would like to try it at some point.
Yeah, I always remember this day we had. We got a local charity. Actually, our school got sold in 1985 because it was in Seaford and it was on the coast, and children had to travel so far. I think that's why, something like that. Anyway, and the funds from it made a charity called the Blatchington Court Trust. And so that's for children with sight loss. They support children in education and young people going into work. And we did this barbecue day when I went there with a friend. And we'd done some running with, offering running, tethered running. And this young gal, I think she was totally blind, and she tried it and she thought it was amazing. She was on a tether, and just walking on a tether she felt was wonderful. And then, she just hadn't experienced that before. So if you get the opportunity, Evie, maybe it's something, like we say, you love horse riding, I don't. I don't really like swimming. You like swimming, but I love running and I love certain sports. But trying it, you might find that you love it. And I'm not sure if there's a park run on your island. I never looked that up, a park run. But maybe you could find someone who could guide you and go on a tether and try it out. It is wonderful.
Yeah, I think there is a couple of park runs, but I think once I find a guide runner, which don't know how long that would take, but if I do find a guide runner, yeah, I would definitely try it.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And I'm not, I'm always trying to encourage people to run because I just find it so invigorating, so wonderful. But, and the fact that, if you could find a guide runner, get someone, and we can always help. And to lots of other people, visually impaired and wheelchair users, you try these things. We have our separate start, like I said, your accessible start, and we have wheelchair athletes. They go on the park run as well, and it's amazing. We meet up afterwards, have a chat, and that's the world we want, and the world's becoming that way, which is fantastic. So if you get a chance, Evie, let me know how you get on. I think it'll give you a buzz. You love that horse riding, and that must be exhilarating and frightening at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I do have a go, I'll definitely tell you about it.
Wonderful. Oh, that would be brilliant. And the other question is, what are your aspirations? What would you like to do when you finish with education, or what would you like to be?
I would like to take the podcast further and have that be my career. And if that's not possible for any reason, I would just love to go into a career in radio.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. That would be brilliant. Well, you're doing very well in this podcast. I have listened to a few, and it's wonderful. And the world of sound, isn't it? It's just so accessible to us, as long as they don't computerize it too much. I did a radio course years ago, but it's done a lot through looking at the sound waves and all that. What's the recording is on a line of like a timeline, and you can see the recording. But I'm sure there's things can be done. But you could bring it just down to the pure level of just talking and listening to me, and you do an excellent job now. So that'd be wonderful to get into that. I can understand the real attraction to that. It's something I considered a while back, and it'd be wonderful. I was considering like maybe a sound technician or something like that. But you're definitely brilliant at this sort of stuff. So I hope that you get into that field.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, hopefully I will. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know that you're very busy, so I really appreciate you coming to talk to me. It's been so lovely to meet you.
And it's been a pleasure for me too, Evie, to meet you. And I wish you all the very best with your career and your, whatever you choose to do. I wish you all the very, very, very best for the future.
Thank you. And thank you to my audience for listening. And I will see you all next time.